Well, I pray to God that they make the playoffs because I want to demoralize them. I want to just sweep them and remind them that they are the inferior product. Nobody saw a 5-0 on a West Coast trip coming. I think I had 3-2. Sam had 3-2. Bam was like 3-2. But we slapped them, and we slapped them without KD. And I'm shocked at these rankings. It's it it takes some balls to be doing a an NBA ranking um and not have the Nets number one. Considering what we just did on a 5-game road trip. What we accomplished as a team without probably our best player. It's disrespectful for us to be having a conversation. Like I could talk about the game, right? I could sit here and say and just wax poetically about Bruce Brown. We're a half game out of the top team in the Atlantic. We are dominant against good teams. A factor that I don't think I still really understand. Like it's gonna take watching them play a bad team again to come to a point of feeling secure. And yes, those bad losses should probably be a ding on our ranking. Not standings. Standings, of course, we're not number one. But we're on a 6-game winning streak, ESPN. Right? I don't care what Denver's doing. I get it. They've got a pretty good record. I mean, excuse me, what the Utah Jazz. I always conflate the two. They're 24-6. True. True. But they lost. Right? We talking about right now. Right? And how could they and understanding that we just had a trade, we just had to acclimate a major piece into our lineup. And we had some catch up to play. We had some comfort to build between guys who do a lot of ball handling. And you know, these regular season teams like the Utah Jazz, they've been together for a long time. They know each other. But we played them. Right? We played them head to head. And I don't know if these NBA rankers remember that on January 5th, not very long ago, on January 5th, we slapped them 130-96. Okay? I know it was early. They were only 4-3 then. But we played the Utah Jazz. I like this shouldn't really get under my skin. It shouldn't. It's meaningless at the end of the day. Who cares about an NBA team ranking? Right? What does it matter? Right? They have a great record. They do what they're supposed to do. They go in there and they just they beat the bad teams. But they don't beat us. And we should be ranked above them. We should be I don't think it's even close. And I don't care that the Lakers didn't have AD. We didn't have KD. And we went 5-0. We're on a 6-game winning streak. You know what? Salute the Brooklyn Nets. Give the Brooklyn Nets what they deserve. Brooklyn, stand up and clap. New Jersey, stand up and clap. Tri-state area, stand up and clap. Right? All we could do is applaud these boys, give these boys all the applause, all the respect, because I'm a diehard Brooklyn Nets fan, and I didn't even believe. Right? My dad, who doesn't follow this stuff closely, has heard me whine, listens to the pod. He said, you should be ashamed of yourself. He's not even a diehard Nets fan, but he tells me, you should be ashamed of yourself. I told you, James Harden is Earl the Pearl sans Jim Crow. James Harden is Earl the Pearl with no one telling him he can't do these things. You understand there was an era when in the NBA when basketball players weren't allowed to like go off like this or play the game like this? James Harden and Kyrie Irving would be benched for all kinds of stuff back in the 70s and the 80s, early 80s. It is hard to believe what these guys are making work. And it's even harder to believe that it's going to work in the playoffs. I think the Nets have a lot of things that they've got to work on. But some good things are happening, and good things wrapped in bad things. Jeff Green has been a stud for us. Watching him get injured, I'm hoping that's not a separated shoulder. I'm hoping that that's not that bitch ass nigga Pat Bev. And that's, again, you guys, there's people from a different generation talking ball and have a completely different worldview than cats from my generation. My generation, basketball was a blood sport. Right? There was a time Anthony Mason captured the imagination of New York City in a way, and that man couldn't shoot a real jumper to save his life. It was ugly, and I don't even want to call it gritty. It just was violent. Gritty is like, oh, I'm the little guy. I'm trying. I'm just on you. I'm just nipping. Like, gritty is like, you're playing hard. You're trying hard. You're going above. These were just brutes. Knocking players, 4 rows into the stands. Like, Charles Oakley had a way of just like, if he missed the block shot, he was elbowing you in the chest at the same time. I think he might have, like, a lot of people don't know this about that wasn't a clap for elbows in the chest. A lot of people don't know this about Charles Oakley, but he used to be like a dunker. He used to be like a, high flyer type of player in the NBA. And then he got injured and his game changed. He just became violent. Like this Xavier, there was a guy on the Knicks called Xavier McDaniel. Right? And I remember just watching the Nets at the time and going, Jersey has a lot of my favorite players, like a lot of New York City favorites. Kenny Anderson, Derek Coleman. Like, if that team played in this era, they would be like the Memphis Grizzlies are right now. Right? Or, because Derek, as good as he wasn't exactly quite Zion. He was more of a freak of nature, power forward that could do a lot of other things and just had off the court distractions. The Nets were very fun to watch as a kid. And this is not hindsight of now that I'm a Nets fan, I have this other view of those teams. Kenny Anderson is a New York City legend. Derek Coleman played for Syracuse. You understand? Like, that's Syracuse was New York City's second or third team. I don't know why, but Georgetown was our team for a while. And I'm talking about even before Pat Ewing. I had a Georgetown satin starter that I wore until the elbows turned black. So the Big East was a big thing for us. And so we loved Derek Coleman. He was on the Nets. And then Brooklyn has a large Russian and Croatian. There are Croatians that live in Coney Island area type thing. More Russians, more Ukrainians. But they're out there, man. And we had Drazen, who, in terms of Eastern European basketball, captured the imagination of people. But the problem was they were in New Jersey. And when you're in New Jersey, it like, you know this is true, New Jersey Nets fans, because our New York teams don't play in New York. They play in New York, New Jersey, and we call them New York football teams. There's something that happens when you put New Jersey in front of the joint. I don't know what it is. I don't know how. Maybe that's for a sociologist to unravel another day. But we were watching this brand of basketball that was, now looking back at it, it's terrible. And the reason why it's terrible, I know it's terrible, is because I play 2K with my son. And sometimes I'll be like, oh, let me just grab this legendary Knicks team. And it's unplayable. John Starks as a second best player is horrendous. Charles Oakley and Anthony Mason, and as much as I remember those teams fondly, and they won a lot of games, the brand of basketball was a very different thing. And here we are now watching this fatal flying guillotine of a basketball team, unstoppable, moving the ball in circles and angles that I've never seen basketball do ever. And we got dudes on the radio pretending like they don't exist. Do you know how shit basketball has been in New York City? The best basketball in New York City that's been played in the last 20 years was in New Jersey. It was when New Jersey came to Madison Square Garden and Richard Jefferson and them boys just smacked the Knicks. That's the best basketball player, local basketball that we've seen. Better than the Carmelo Anthony failure. That's a failure. You spent years removing players, creating cap space. They hired Walsh to come in there and do that shit. And the best you could do was get to the second round with Carmelo Anthony? What we are watching, I have so many things if we recorded last night, I would have covered. But all these great podcasts are covering them. All these great podcasts are already handling it. And